here a worksheet. And the worksheet is basically about the story of Zacchaeus, that we can think together, how would that now practically be with splitting up the stories into the different elements, first with the introduction, then the different key words you write down as the story develops. What do we choose as a climax of the story, where we know we're working our way up to that point, and what could we add in the end as conclusion to round off and to bring the story to a good end. Mostly it's very difficult, how do I start and how do I stop? And in between, it's just the flow of the story that goes, but maybe it's good also to think, where do I put the climax? Is the climax of the story where he's high up in the tree? Or is it when Jesus comes to his home? I leave it open. We will discuss it later. Let me start together with you guys, then maybe you can go on yourself or work in groups of 2, just how you feel like, and then in the end we will summarize what you have, what you came up with. We will skip the first part of the paper. Well, you should know the passage. That's on top right of the paper. That's Luke 19, 1 to 10, the story of Zacchaeus. And on the worksheet you also see that there is central truth and the application. That is what is the main truth in the story that we want to give over to the children. It's not only the story, it's also something behind it. That's why it's written in the Bible. That's the message of it. But to that we will come later, and the application that we show the child what they can do with it. Because this is a very Because this is a very evangelistic story. You will have on the sheet that you can take if you want in the end with the solutions. You will see that the application is you can be saved if you believe in Jesus. But we will leave that part. Also skip the introduction and the link. I mean, if you come up with a good introduction, I'll be very happy to hear it afterwards if we discuss it. But let's start with the progression of events. What would you take as the first point? After you did an exciting introduction to catch the attention of the children, then to really start with the story. What would you take as point 1? Let me help you with that yet. You could take verse 1, Jesus entered Jericho, but maybe it is easier, I find at least, if you first start with introducing Zacchaeus. So point 1, I would say introduce Zacchaeus, who he was, what he did. More from verse 2, that he was a chief tax collector, he was very wealthy, and in the next verse we read that he was a short man. So point 1, introduce Zacchaeus, and then point 2, Jesus comes to Jericho. Then the rest of the events, I would want to leave it up to you to think it through, what point 3 and the following are. Maybe it's good not to go over 10 points, because in the end, the aim of this page is that you can learn it by heart for the story, that you don't need any notes anymore, that you only have this paper in your Bible for the story, and that will do. Then you don't have to read down your story to the children, you can just check in between, oh, what's the next keyword, what's the next event in the progression. So I will stop talking and let you work point 3 upwards.